Are they gonna let the public in?
They're coming in.
Yeah.
They're in, aren't they?
Yes, you can go ahead and go.
Okay. Do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'm kind of doing this off my phone, so have patience. Okay, do I hear a motion to set the agenda?
I move to set the agenda.
I hear a second. Jack moved, Lance seconded. Is there any discussion on it? Okay, call for the question.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Sherry Wright?
Aye.
Let's see, Sherry Noyes hasn't arrived yet, correct?
Okay, let me know when she does, please.
Okay, so Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
And it
Okay,
looks like Sherry's just arrived.
yeah, Sherry, we're on approval of the minutes, so go ahead. Can you hear me? Sherry? Sherry? Okay,
Looks like she needs to be unmuted.
There
now,
we go.
can you hear us now? Sherry, can you hear us? There you are. Are you with us? Sherry?
Yes, are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's on there and she's unmuted
Yeah, it must be something on
on her end.
her end.
Can you hear us, Sherry?
I will text her.
Okay. So I need to hear a motion for the approval of the minutes for October 20th and the IPP meeting.
So move.
Second,
Motion made by Chris, seconded by Tammy. Any discussion? Okay, call for the question.
Sherry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes, Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye. Excuse me.
Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Who have I missed? Somebody.
Me. You missed me,
Chris
Philip.
Flaherty.
Aye.
Oh, Chris, okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, celebration reports.
Well, good evening, board. We do have some celebrations for tonight. First and foremost, we have reports from the teachers that we have very strong student engagement in our starting with the remote learning, and attribute that to the planning that they've had in this transition. Not to say this hasn't been a very difficult transition for everyone involved, but it is exciting to hear about the positive engagement with students so far. Even within the challenges of what we do have college students that are applying and being accepted to colleges and universities. So, you know, obviously that's our celebration and getting our students to that point. And so I think we need to continue to celebrate this throughout the year as we face these additional challenges. And then we also received a $1,000 rebate check from Empire Electric for one of the HVAC that has been called. And so I know that was included in Jamie's report. And looking forward to moving forward.
Does anybody else have a celebration?
Okay, I can't, let's see.
Are you on, Sherry? Can you hear us now?
Okay.
Sherry,
I can't.
can you hear us now? Sherry Noyes?
I think we can hear you, Sherry.
Yeah. We can hear you, Sherry. So. We'll let her keep working on it.
I can't
just
hear
want-
you guys.
You cannot
So
hear
let
us.
me check my box.
Okay.
Okay,
We sent out things on the boys track and the girls volleyball. I just, we need to acknowledge these kids. They're working their bottoms off and they're not getting the credit that they deserve. So I would really, if there's any way we can reach out to them and tell them that we appreciate all the hard work. Phyllis, can you send them a card or something? John White and then the girls basketball team. Coops, I guess, did a great job on telling them what a wonderful job they did. So if we could maybe just send one to
What is
him
going
to
on?
share it. Is there,
Yes, I can do that.
thank you. Because, they missed out on their chance going to state because we're
I am
small.
completely
So,
on. I am completely got everything on. Hi. But I
hi, can
can't
you
hear
hear?
you guys.
You
So
still can't hear us.
I have to leave and come back. I suppose
Yeah.
relaunch her.
Yeah, why don't you, can you send her a text, Lori?
yeah, I'm texting her.
Okay,
I'll tell her to leave and come back.
okay. She did it
Might wanna-
once.
might wanna
Um,
have her relaunch her app, shut down the app completely and then relaunch if she's on an app. Wait, hold on.
Okay, does anybody else have a celebration report? Okay, moving right along. Superintendent's report.
Good evening, board, and for the sake of time,
leave.
I'll be happy to address any questions related to my board report. What I'd like to highlight today is, obviously it's been a very eventful 3 weeks since we came together. And in that time, we've actually, we went to remote learning, and I do appreciate the board's feedback on that. Tonight, we have some guests that will be discussing where the community is in relation to the school. These are our very strong thought partners as we have moved forward with our district COVID plan. And we have met with them weekly, bi-weekly with our COVID cases. I know that our clinical team has met with them more. So I would like to welcome from the health department, Dr. Kent Aiken and Bobby Locke, the director, and then from Southwest Health Systems, Mark Meyer. And I'm not sure if Carrie White Singleton's on, but if she is, I'd like to welcome her. And then Sue Cecilia will be giving us an update tonight during staff address of board. And then after that, we will open it up for a question and answer with our clinic expertise that we have. And if you remember correctly, one of the highest leverage and most important components of our district plan going into, the health and safety of everyone with the increase of COVID in our community and state and nation was to create this clinical subcommittee of the Department of Health and Southwest Health Systems, as well as our district administration and Sue Cecilia. And then we also have Sherry Wright and Jack Schudemeyer representing the board. And this has been so powerful and just a real guiding light as we move forward and navigate, because we are educators and we really needed to have the clinical expertise. And so this has really formed an extremely strong partnership as we navigate this as a community. And I know there is increased concern as we come together today, as our county has actually gone up to the higher level of orange. I'm sure we'll be discussing what the implications for that is. When we decided to go to the remote learning, we did do several avenues of outreach. We had a staff town hall that was very successful, and then we had a parent town hall on Wednesday night, and then the schools, it was Tuesday night, and then the schools followed up with their each individual town hall for their parents the rest of the week, and those were highly successful and very beneficial in moving forward. And then also tonight, after we have citizens address the board with Sue Cecilia and our clinical committee, we will have Lori Haley, who has completed our audit. And Lori Haley, if you don't know, is with Majors and Haley. And so she will be presenting an overview for the board tonight. So with that, one other thing I'd like to highlight in the agenda for tonight is you will see supplemental budgets that you voted on to approve at the last board meeting. As you know, our board meeting was shut down, and then it was determined that when the board approved the supplemental action items, that the community hadn't logged on to the board meeting virtually. And so the board will be asked to vote on these supplemental budgets again, so the community has the opportunity to be part of that process. So with that, I'd like to entertain any questions related specifically to my board report.
I don't
All right, thank you.
I don't have any questions about it. Just a quick comment about the nature of how the district attacked all the unknowns that could come up, and it seems to be paying dividends now because we have we have clear path to go, and we're not scrambling trying to make up policy as we go in a state of emergency. So I think it's well done.
And I just have to highlight all the administrators, district administrators, school administrators, and most and foremost, the staff that has actually been planning since last summer for this. So, you know, we're asking a lot of our staff at all levels, including, you know, the cleaning across the board with all of our district staff. And everyone is, you know, tired, a little bit, you know, I'd say more than concerned with the increase of COVID, but hopefully we're doing some safety measures there. But everyone has just been completely dedicated for the students at the first and foremost. So I really want to acknowledge the whole team. So,
Okay, let's go ahead and open it up. Who wants to go first on the medical side? Sue, do you want to start and introduce everybody and start the ball rolling?
Sure, I
Sherry,
can-
can you hear us now, Sherry?
I'm on now.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm going to back out after this and let you take over.
Okay, and where are we at? Because are we?
We're
did we
with
go
Sue,
down to-
staff reports.
Okay.
It's where
we're
Sue's
down
going to
with
talk.
everything. We've gone through everything else above that.
Yes,
Okay.
so we're with Sue now. Okay,
Okay.
Sue, go ahead, please.
Okay, Carol, do you want to go ahead and put that PowerPoint up? We just have 5 slides to kind of give you a state of the county report, and then we'll be talking about more specific clinical things. I don't know how to share the screen, but I'll let Carol do that.
okay, so I guess I just need to ask a clarifying question. Do you want to go ahead and go into this part and have the rest of the district reports after this, just for clarity?
I do, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. So go ahead to the next slide, Carol. So Lori referenced that we have moved to orange from yellow. Yellow is stable but concerning. Orange is concerning, and it is a reflection that we have so many more cases positive in the county, and specifically in a 2-week period, and increased hospitalizations. So in the positivity rate, we're actually in red. The cumulative index is, I believe, in orange, and the hospitalizations is currently in green, but I think it's lagging. And Bobby Locke from the health department can talk more about that. So the state of Colorado is up 100% in terms of positive cases in the last 2 weeks. Montezuma County is up 84%. In the past 2 weeks, you could just see by the dates, a graph could do it, but numbers also do it. From November 2nd at 240 cases to November 16th, we're at 450 cases. That is just astounding. And the implications for the health department to have to do all the contact tracing for each one of those, call the people, find out who they've been around, is just an impact beyond belief. And we're closed. And, you know, I can't really say that school was a driving force here, but certainly we're a microcosm of our community. So hopefully with our teachers away from each other and our students away from each other, we can help to impact this mushroom cloud that we're living in. More at the district level, since I spoke about us being a microcosm, we've had 11 quarantines since September 30th, meaning that there have been 11 people who have tested positive in a way that impacts our school community. The high school in the last 2 weeks has had 170 students and 15 staff members put on quarantine because of positive cases. The middle school, although it hasn't been quite in this week and this 2 weeks, had 130 students and 14 staff members out. Kemper had 15 students and 4. And also there was Mesa, where because of the nature of the case, actually had to put the whole school out on a quarantine. That impacted 62 staff members and 301 students. SWOS had a situation where it was just better for them to close a little bit early, rather to address who was going to be in quarantine and who wasn't. So, so I've been doing tracking of those individuals who test positive and how they impact the school, whether they're positive from the community or positive in the school, as well as those who are on quarantine, because those who are on quarantine can sort of work at home, but the effectiveness of that was not great. So we've had a total of 12 students test positive and 3 employees test positive for a total of 15. We've had 87 members of our staff or students who were put in quarantine because of a community contact. And we've had 125 staff members and a total of 984 students put in quarantine because of school-related contacts with a positive or potential. We consider them contacts. So right now, as of today, we've monitored and tracked 338 individuals, not including the broad quarantines, for people who have had symptoms. And actually that 7 is now 8 as of 6 o'clock this evening. 8 individuals are currently in our staff or students are currently being monitored for COVID symptoms.
Wow.
So as I clear them, as they reach their 14 days or they test negative, they move onto an archive page. But currently, even with school closed for a week, we still have 7 individuals who we're tracking. What's next, Carol? Okay, so
That's
it. So with that, I'm sure you have questions, but I wanted to remind you that we have the experts, our health advisory team, graciously agreed to join us this evening so that if you had questions beyond the scope of the school district, they could answer them for you. And that's Dr. Aiken and Carrie White. Sure if she's on. Mark is definitely on. Mark Meyer, our infectious disease specialist and pharmacist from the hospital, and Dr. Aiken are on. I saw Bobby on. And so they are the people that we've been taking our scenarios, our what ifs, our what do we do's, all those questions to on a fairly frequent basis. And their wealth of knowledge is, you know, we can't even say how much we've appreciated them guiding us every step of the way. So I'm going to open it up to the board. And if you want to, as each health professional starts to talk, if you could just introduce yourself as you're answering a question, that would be great. So who has a question from the board for our health people?
Well, I do. I understand that, I guess, has the COVID skyrocketed because we turned school out and the kids are not staying home?
Hi, I'm Kent Aiken. My background is in family medicine. I was the family doctor in Mancos from 1980 to 1995. I've been in medicine for over 40 years. I I'm also the Montezuma County Health Officer, a position which I held in the 80s and up to the mid 90s, and took over again when I came back to the area in 2011. So I kind of represent insight from the hospital as well as from the health department. Again, before I answer your question, I would say what a wonderful partnership this is. I really appreciate working with everyone at the schools. I have the very, very highest regard for those in education. I attribute much of the things that have happened to me positively in my life to educators that I've encountered throughout my life. I think that the biggest issue with increase in cases in Montezuma County has to do with our social interactions. It's hard to be with friends and be with extended family members and maintain all of the kinds of guidelines that we recommend in public health as far as mask wearing, social distancing, and limiting length of contact with one another. We got away with that really well through the spring and summer because there weren't that many cases in the county to start with, and most people have followed the guidelines. But now that we are starting to see an acceleration of the number of cases, so that so many people that we may come in contact with in our daily lives are potentially infectious, I'm afraid that I don't want to say casual, because I know we're all attuned to the problem related to this, but just the difficulty in keeping your mask on, staying away from close friends and extended family members to the extent that it really takes to limit the spread has been our downfall. I think the schools have done an excellent job of trying to protect the staff and the students there and to encourage compliance with all of the guidelines. It's just that people have gotten somewhat complacent, and even in the face of rising cases, somewhat careless. As a county health physician and also as one who works at the hospital, a lot of these cases are, people that do what they're supposed to do in their workplace, but in the break room or out in non-workplace related contacts, they're not so careful. So I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the increase in cases.
If I could just add a comment to Kent's remark, which I agree with. There was a recent study showing that about 70% of the people nationwide are complying with the social distancing and the mask wearing. And I've seen epidemiologists say that in order to begin to turn this around, we need about 90% compliance. I'm a statistician also, for those of you who don't know.
And Sherry, also, these numbers, I'd say November 10th, the quarantine we did November 10th, and then the one that followed it immediately, the 12th, that was when I felt like I had whiplash. And I went, oh my gosh. And the kids were still in school then. And that's when, about the 7th, I would say the numbers just went straight up. And Lori responded to that because, we were supposed to try to go to Thanksgiving, and we realized it was just too dangerous. And frankly, all of our teachers were in quarantine, so it was time. And thankfully she was attuned to that. But, the kids weren't out on the street then, they were still in class. But
Right.
One of the questions that we commonly get is, are the increased number of cases due to recognition of the cases that are already in our county just because we're doing more testing? It's certainly true that we are doing a lot more testing. The drive-through over at the hospital typically would do 20 to 30, maybe 35 people come through the drive-through during a session. And now they are swamped. I mean, we're looking at 150 to 200 people coming through. In August and through most of September, about 2 to 3 out of every 100 people who came through the testing line tested positive for COVID. In the last week or so, 18 to 20 people out of every 100 are testing positive to COVID. So, you know, we really are seeing a definite increase in the number of people in the community who have it. Just for the information of you, and certainly spread this to the staff, you know, we're on the cusp now of being able to offer even more testing, including to asymptomatic people, and the drive-through at the hospital will be doing that. We're going to expand it tomorrow afternoon, as you know, from noon till 4. We have testing available for anyone that wants to come through. At that point, it will be free, and it will not depend on whether you have symptoms or not. And we're looking, if not next week, by certainly the week after, that we would try to really expand the testing to people who have no symptoms. So, you know, we want to identify people in the community who have it, but there are a lot more people in the community who have it than had it several months ago.
And also there's the cold weather. We've all come inside and concentrated our secretions, whereas Coloradoans, we tend to live outside as long as we can. And now that it's cold, do you think that has anything to do with it, Dr. Aiken?
Sue, I didn't quite hear that question. Could you repeat it again?
Do you think the fact that the temperature has dropped and we've come inside has concentrated the possibilities of spreading COVID?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, in the summertime, you know, I have some friends that I like to get together with. And when we got together, you know, we'd be outside and we would try to space our distance out. And I think the risk outdoors is lower than it is indoors. And, you know, we've canceled our get-togethers since the weather's cold and we can't do that. And the days are shorter. And by the time people get off work, it's dark outside, so you can't do it. That's got to have an impact. I would certainly think so.
Dr. Aiken, has the state reached out to the hospital for the preparation and implementation of and distribution of these vaccines that are coming out? Have you guys started to discuss that?
Yes, very much so. We're actively involved in that. And I think Bobby and Mark are both still on the call. I see Bobby, and yeah, there's Mark. We're all really involved. And I would say particularly Mark and the pharmacy staff at the hospital. We have had basically weekly webinars with the CDC about this. The Colorado Department of Health and Environment is also actively working with us to help us plan this. We're coordinating with other counties in the region to try to make this happen, but we're also very much working to make sure that Montezuma County has the vaccine and the vaccine capability. And Mark, you may want to comment on this a little bit more.
Yeah, this is Mark Meyer. I'm pharmacy director of the hospital, also infection control, infectious disease. We are working a lot on the vaccine. I think we're anticipating being able to vaccinate, we hope, first responders, healthcare workers, and a few high-risk people before the first year, we hope. Can't guarantee that. And then roll out some sort of mass vaccination for the community that's tiered based on the plan the governor's office filed with the CDC that's been approved. And I think Bobby may have shared that. I'm not sure, was it on your, might have been on our webpage. If not, we can certainly share that with people so you can kind of start seeing how you fit into those vaccination categories. You know, it's going to take probably well past spring into summer to get everybody vaccinated, because what we're going to see, at least with the first 2 waves of vaccine, the Pfizer product and also now the Moderna product, probably a little bit later, these are going to be 2 vaccine series, both of them highly effective, both of them have relatively low side effects as vaccines go. So pretty excited about the mRNA technology that's coming out. The other thing I wanted to bring up tonight, the hospital is a little bleak this week because we have been hit pretty hard with COVID ourselves amongst staff. Almost all of them so far that we're tracing have been contracted it in the community. Like Kent said, they've been fine inside the hospital, but with gatherings, and some are even contracting it walking together in the park, so you're not just free of COVID when you're outside. We had to close 2 ICU beds tonight because we don't have staff, so we're staffing at 2. We had to open the COVID unit this morning, which we hadn't had to do yet. ED has been overflowing all day. We pulled staff out of quality, even Karen herself, our director of nursing, our chief clinical officer, has been working in the ED today. We're going to be struggling a little bit the next couple of weeks to get through this initial large wave of people. 200 people in the drive-through yesterday. 10% of those, or 20% of those, are going to be positive or more. So it is. We're going to start operating in crisis management. We're also cutting down on the number of same-day surgery suites we have, making them extra ED beds. Probably will deploy a tent this week in the parking lot to handle COVID patients, so we can also handle our normal volume of ED patients. And so there's just a lot of flex for us this week as we expand. The governor wanted us to expand 38%. We are capable of expanding 50%, and then things start getting really interesting. I know Dr. Aiken is working on trying with one of our ED docs and trying to score the severity of COVID when they come in, and the predictability of whether we should keep them or ship them as long as we can. So there's going to be triaging. There's going to be a lot of things. And ultimately, tomorrow morning, we're going to go to a crisis mitigation strategy for employees where if we've been exposed to COVID or we're maybe asymptomatic and no symptoms, we're going to be working in full PPE to provide care because we don't have any other options. So that's, and I know it's community widespread. It's not somebody had this party here or that party. We have, Bobby's told me several times this in the last couple of weeks, we have people that have absolutely no idea where they've got COVID recently. So it is going to be pretty tight, pretty exciting for all of us at the hospital as we try to work our way through these coming weeks, or I'm afraid coming months of this type of activity here until it starts to slow down or we get the vaccine deployed.
So that's considered unchecked widespread transmission.
I would call it that. I'll let Bobby and Kent speak to that because I only see the tests from the hospital, but it's pretty widespread, unchecked, I believe, right now. And not only in our area, but probably throughout the country in many spots. I mean, look at North Dakota, South Dakota, and it's pretty bad there. It would not surprise me to see a 30% positivity rate here soon. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at a 30% positivity rate. And, community spread is defined as someone who who becomes infected with a disease and cannot identify where they acquired it. I mean, we have plenty of cases where we can say, okay, these 2 people were in a break room together having lunch and they took their masks off and one of them turned out to have COVID and now the other one has it. Or so-and-so went on a camping trip, slept in a tent with somebody else. That other person had upper respiratory symptoms and now found out that they have COVID, and the person that slept in the tent with them is either in quarantine or is ill. But there are plenty of people also who just are diagnosed with COVID and have no idea where they acquired it.
Mark, can I ask a question about the air ambulances and the air transportation? Or is the hospital still able to get the transportation they need, or is that starting to become an issue as well?
Well, it's starting to become an issue because we're starting to transport farther away, to the Front Range, Grand Junction, I don't believe our options are really open at Durango or Farmington anymore. They appear to be full most of the time. Good. And, you know, we are getting helicopters starting in December, but if we have to transport that far, that's fixed wing transportation. That's not helicopter transportation. So it does pose a risk. And that's why I think it's probably important that we use some sort of scoring system that I mentioned that Kent was working on to decide right away whether people are going to do well enough to keep in our potentially 60 beds, or they're going to have to be shipped out right away. And I just want everybody to know that when we say we are going to have 60 beds, that is not normal hospital care. We'll have crisis mitigation there too, where we'll have 2 nurses in the ICU, 2 nurses med-surg, 2 nurses in the OB, in the COVID unit, and 2 upstairs with about 30 more patients. So that is not normal operating procedures whatsoever to take care of them. When we'll be moving, shifting staff around, we'll have, you know, like OR techs helping us care for these patients. So yes, Lance, I'm concerned.
All right, thank you.
Mark, and if it turns out that the hospital needs some additional tents, we do have tents.
Okay. We're trying. We would not normally want to put people in tents, but just to triage them outside anyway. So.
Yeah.
Bobby, is there anything you'd like to share?
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you for having us. And I'm Bobby Locke, and I'm the director of Montezuma County Public Health Department. I've been there for over 30 years now, and I have never thought I'd live through a pandemic, but here we are. And I've been the director for 7 years. So I think everybody has hit on amazing things. I think, Mark, what you shared about the hospital is something that the community really needs to hear about where the hospital is right now and some of that internal workings of what you have to do to navigate this, because we've been saying the same things from the beginning, asking people to social distance, wear masks, hand sanitize, all these things. Nothing has changed. Those things are still in place. But it's even more important, like Dr. Aiken said, now that we have the colder weather, you know, people can't do those things as well as they can outside. Now they're inside. So we have large scale spread going on. Yes, we can link some of these cases, but there's also some cases that we can't link to anything. And some people are telling us they've done everything. They've worn their masks. They've done all of the steps. And why am I getting this? You know, so we're hearing that over and over again. So I do think we have widespread community transmission. And the gatherings that are about to happen over Thanksgiving and the upcoming holidays, that's going to be the real tipping point if people don't listen to what we're asking them to do, and really decreasing who they're around. And one household gathering, 2 at the max should be in one household, 2 different families, because there are no more than 10 people. That is really the recommendation. When you're eating, you can't keep a mask on unless your house is really large. To have 10 people socially distance inside while you're having a meal, that's a little challenging. So I do think that I really hope that people are listening to this, because that's what we need them to do. Our county moved. Technically, our county could have moved 2 weeks ago, honestly, but we are now in orange. I don't know if anybody's looked at CDPHE's COVID-19.colorado.org or gov, but they developed a new color. So it's purple now. So there's a new red. And so we're in orange, and we really could be in the red, but we kind of have a little bit of a grace period here being in the orange, but at this rate, we'll be in the red. And purple is now where, you know, everything closes down. So, you know, nobody wants that to happen. The governor doesn't want that to happen. Nobody wants to go there. And they're wanting people to really listen to the dramatic impact that this is having across the state. It's obviously across the nation too, but you know, the governor's concerned about this state, and I'm concerned about our county. And I definitely hope that people are going to heed the advice of very small gatherings, and think about the people who you're putting at risk, and think about the fact that the holiday is one day, and that decision can make a huge impact on the rest of your life and other people's lives. So
Thank you,
anybody have
Bobby.
any questions? Yeah.
I wanted our school board to meet all of the health advisors. That's why I asked you to speak.
I appreciate it, honestly.
I do
Your
too.
insight. Now, Bobby, real quick, I saw that La Plata County is moving to red this coming
Yeah.
Friday. So
Yes.
it's probably a foregone conclusion that we'll be right behind them if it continues.
Well, yes, and you know, basically the state asked all the counties if, you know, if they felt they were ready to say, yes, we need to be in the red. We need our community to do all the things that are part of the red. And a lot of counties are there, and they electively have said, yes, we want to be in the red. And we're going to follow all those guidelines that are set for the red. So you have to be willing to do those guidelines. That's not where our county is. That's not where the willingness is to go that far to be in the red. So we are staying in the orange probably until the state decides that we are going to go in the red. And we're going to stick with what we're asking people to do. I feel like if people can listen to what's going on locally in our hospital, in our healthcare setting, because truly that's where all of us are going to be going if something happens. And it's not, we have to remember, it's not just COVID that needs the hospital, right? I mean, it's motor vehicle accidents. If you fall off a ladder and break your leg, you're going to want to go to the local hospital. Well, if there's no place to put you because it's full of COVID patients, you know, that's a strategy the hospital has to figure out, and that's going to impact everybody. So I do think, yes, we'll probably end up in the red. We're not going there just yet, but I think we'll get there. Yeah.
Thank you for coming and meeting with us and answering our questions. Does anybody else have anything?
I would just like to say I've attended several community meetings, and I really appreciate all the time that they've been putting in attending these meetings in the evenings. It's you know, obviously getting very dire, and you know, the only way we're going to change this is if our community respects it and follows the guidelines. But then, you know, again, I just really want to thank everyone here and helping being part of the guidance with our committee moving our district forward. So it's been a very crucial part of this year, and also for Sue's leadership in this too, and then the process we have in place too that Sue and Carol both drive. So thank you, everyone.
It's a great partnership, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, so it looks like we could do two things. We could go ahead and lead into the finance component and have Lori Haley present the audit and then go into the other reports, or we could go into the reports. What would you like, Sherry?
Jerry's running the meeting, so.
I would
Sherry?
say if Lori's ready, go ahead and have Lori present the audit, and then we can move along with the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. Do you want me to screen share?
Yes.
Okay. host disabled participants. You need to enable me.
Try it now, Lori.
There we go. Okay, let me pick the right one. Bear with me, I'm new to this.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, so we don't have anything. We have black and white. We just operate in our office, nothing, any of this stuff. Had to borrow my husband's headphones because we don't even have a speaker or microphone. Okay. What I would like to start with is that your guys' budget, everything on this June 30th looks good. There's nothing to point out, no budget over expenditures. Everything ran smoothly. I have no issues. What I would like to start with pointing out is, because I did send each of you guys summary sheets that should help you and pull out of what's important or what you really need to look at the audit, because these audits have gotten where they're really not for your benefit. They don't help the user, the board members much. They help, I guess, CDE and state auditors, but not a lot for you. But the only one first thing I was a little bit concerned about, and I know you guys are all aware of this and paying attention, is your self-insurance lost. And I'm on the audit here that you guys each have. And I sent you pages, but it might have been confusing when I looked at it today, because I told you pages, like here, page 24, but when you're scooting across the bottom, it's page 27. This is the changes in the self-insurance. And you guys went down $426,800 in this fund. This is where you guys do your self-insurance, where you bill yourselves for that. The previous year, this loss was $293,074. So you've got a downward trend there. And for the you that were around in the past, this one, we finally got this built back up. We, as in you guys, finally got this all built back up. And it's a little bit scary for it to be going the other direction, because it really sucked on the general fund in the past. So just pointing that out. Everything's fine right now, and I know I talked to Lori and Melissa today, and they're fully aware, and you guys are watching this, but I wanted to point that out. Then my sheets, which I'm going to click here too, I gave you guys a detail sheet. Each one of you guys should have had this, of the 2 years. This is the general fund detail, and then you also have a general fund summary. But on this detail, this is what I want to point out. On the audit, on pages 16 and 17 of the audit, when you're going across, is on page 19 and 20, like when you're following your PDF document, you have a general fund. In that general fund is included your technology fund. When you guys are doing your budgeting and stuff, these are all separated for management purposes. You have a technology fund, an insurance reserve fund, an activity fund, and you'll see there's another activity fund. This is activity fund, which is mostly the sports, and it was what is just subsidized by the school, not by outside like groups and things like that. And then your preschool. So I want you to know that that general fund in your audit includes all of these. And you have a detailed of what makes up each one of these on this worksheet. Then on here, this is just the totals also compared to previous years, going back more years. You guys have this. And so the general fund went up quite a bit this year. And that is due to a lot of reasons, and you guys will hit this in the meetings. It's because of how the COVID is all hit. But I believe that you're having to use up some of that money to go forward with opening the schools and cleaning them and all the information. So, I mean, it looks like you did, a lot to the good, but there's a lot of, this is a different year. Comparing year to years is going to be difficult this year and next year with COVID. So I'm going to jump so I showed you the detail sheet and the summary sheet and for the general fund. And then along those same things, I'm going to jump one other time. The people that have sat through this meeting with me before in the previous years have known, it's like when the property taxes were big in Kinder Morgan, other districts got to keep that much money. and it went in there. But school districts operate on a per pupil funding. So I have this worksheet that goes all the way across, and they do a fund. They put in your property taxes, your ownership, and then state equalization, and they come up with a formula. So if you have a big number up here in property taxes, all it means is you get less state equalization. Having Kinder Morgan didn't help the schools build up fund balances like it did other entities within the county, because it equals it out. So like other school districts might have state equalization that's way higher than property taxes. They go on and figure this per pupil. So this is, you can see how your per pupil has gone through the last, since 2015 on this worksheet, and I have a change of how it's gone up, and also your count, so your student count. So this is literally how you guys fund yourselves, off of this per pupil and per pupil funding and per pupil count. Then you guys have this thing that this is like what you got, 2,767, but then you sent 290 out to your charter schools. That last year, this is how many SWOs Battle Rock and Kiva had, that you turned around and paid $8,226 to each one of them. That's what these numbers are here are. So this is how much you paid out to charter schools. So this is how much you got funded, RE1 alone, and the changes. This is what I want to point out, because you guys have lots to look at going forward. That I want to point out. So if you lose 25 students, you lose $205,700 in funding. If you lose 60 students, you lose $494,000 in funding. If you lose 100 students, you lose $822,600 in funding. So this is your things to look at as you go forward with the stuff that Lori and Melissa are going to be working with you on budgeting. And the other thing that I wanted to point out then, so I'll jump one other time. So I told you guys on pages 16 and 17 of the audit are your each fund besides the general fund that you could look at. Okay, I went too far because it's there. So these are actually 19 and 20 if you're going to go down here. You can look, these are your other funds. So your general fund within the district is what was made up of that group I told you. Then you have the food service fund, all of your grants fund, student activity funds, which are more groups and outside where they make their money and it's not subsidized by RE1, where you're paying for your bond. Your high school building fund is all gone. This was the last year for it. And then your capital projects fund. So you guys can look at each one of these and they pretty much stayed right exactly what is expected, except the food service fund. I gave you a work comparison sheet for the food service fund that started in 14. So in 2014, you guys had a fund balance, which is a fund balance is a snapshot. If you cleared it, you took your cash, paid every bill, everything you owe, that is what you would have. Let me get this set a little better. So you can look at this. It went from 280, 268, 183, 138.5, 138.6. Last year it went down to 94. This year it went down to $35,000. All you have left in the food service, and the general fund subsidized at $85,000. This is a common problem across all the districts in the state, but this is, I'm just pointing out your problem children in the finance area. So those are the issues that I felt I should be pointed out to you guys. Does anybody have any questions, specific questions on the audit, or any other pages they would like me to go over?
I just have a question on the food service. We're down so low. Does that have anything to do with I guess all the extra lunches and breakfast and whatnot, but were we not compensated for a lot of that through the state?
I believe the answer to that question is that I don't think so. I think you're okay. This isn't due to COVID. this is due to minimum wage going up and food prices going up, and you have a certain break-even point on funds. You have to be able to serve so many food to be able to break even, and as like minimum wage goes up and prices go up, that changes. Melissa probably could answer that better on the day-to-day than I can.
I was going to chime in on that same exact thing. You know, over the last 2 years, minimum wage has increased. And when we actually look at it, our food service department is the one department that works the least amount of hours. So a $50, $75 an hour raise hits them a lot harder than it does anywhere else. You know, a lot of these people might be working 30 hours a week where we've got someone else at 45. The difference in $12 an hour versus $20 an hour as a percentage, that makes those costs go up so much quicker. So I will say that over the years, I don't know for a fact exactly how long it is, but when I was here previously, I believe that Durango has been subsidizing their food service department for at least 5 years, if not 10. So for this to be the first year that we've subsidized it, I'm proud of that. But yet at the same time, it is going to be something that is, as we continue to offer meals, and that's part of the program that we do, we will be having to subsidize it because of the wage and food costs.
Sherry, if you look on this worksheet too, you can kind of see food service sales. They've gone down. I mean, and then comparative, here are your wages 2019 to 2020. Benefits, right. Look at how, I mean, and the benefits, you guys know they raise the para costs and then food costs. I can't imagine how food costs can be holding there, because I know my $75 grocery bill is now like $125 every time I go.
Well, and our insurance premiums have gone up also.
Right, but so you can just see this too. That's part of the reason I do these worksheets that aren't really part of your audit, but I feel like you get more out of this than you do the audit.
And I would like to add, you know, in that benefits, like they said, health insurance is part of that. But 10 years ago, I don't know the exact thing, I believe it was para contribution was 10.15. Now it's 10%. Now it's 20.35%. So it's doubled in 10 years. So all of that stuff going up, that's why our benefits as a percentage have gone up so much faster.
I just figured it from right here, from fiscal year 14 to fiscal year 20, the benefits have gone up 32.5%.
Wow.
So I'd like to add, you know, the lunch fund comparison that she's talking about now and the analysis of the pupil count will be great segue into the information that we'll use for our work session when we do that.
Also, I believe if you guys all know that if you want, anybody wants to do one-on-one with these numbers, that I can help Melissa, and I'm more than happy to meet with anybody. If you guys need me to come in on a work session, I mean, I just do numbers after the fact and I can tell you trends. I don't audit, I don't know day to day like Melissa and Lori would know, but I am open to anything you guys would like me to do that I could help you guys be successful.
And I would offer the same.
Lori, I'd like to take you up on that. I'll reach out to you this week and get a one-on-one before our work session.
Okay. When is your work session? So I can kind of, because
I think we may be moving it to December.
Correct. So we will know after tonight, Lori, the date for that.
All right. Yeah, give me a little bit of notice. I do have a few things I'm having to take care of personally also, but I would definitely make it work even if we have to do it in the evening. Was that
Sounds
Tammy
good,
that
Lori.
was
Thank
talking? Yes,
It
it
was,
was.
Yes, Tammy.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, Tammy, just get a
Yeah.
hold of me.
Okay.
And we'll have Phyllis send Lori Haley's email address to each one of the board members.
thank you.
Phyllis?
I'll make sure if I don't respond on the email to call my office. Because if I work out of the office, I don't come back and check it very well.
Yes, I can send both the email and the phone number to the board members.
Perfect. Thank you, Phyllis.
Well, and if we needed to, we could also have this as part of the work session too.
Yeah, we probably will.
Is there anything else I can do for you guys tonight? Anything you want to go over on the audit?
I don't think so.
You've answered my questions.
Looks good.
Looks good to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
You bet. You guys hang in there.
Thanks.
Lori, you too.
Thanks, Lori.
Okay.
Okay. Number 8, board requests and reports. Do we?
Oh, we skipped staff.
Oh, we skipped staff?
Yeah.
So we skipped staff, went right into Sue and Lori. Okay, so staff. Okay.
So Sherry, who we have is, we still have Melissa and Carol and Jeanette and Jamie to give the board updates.
Okay.
Since Lori said my name first, I'll volunteer. Most of my information was in the packet. The audit was a big piece of it. One of the things that will be coming up in just a few minutes is the resolution. Oh, I can't see what I'm doing here. The resolution on some Kinder Morgan funds, so we can discuss that a little bit when we get to that point. I'm getting ready to start working on the budget adjustments for December. We will have some adjustments for a change in student enrollment. We have lost some students, so that will be part of our work session. And the last piece was, I just wanted to publicly thank you guys for your support of me for the last couple of years, and I'll be in and out for the next year or so. So thank you very much.
But I do have to say, you have one more board meeting officially in one work session, Melissa.
I agree. They'll make me work for it, that's for sure. I will be.
You are for sure.
Okay.
Who's next?
How about Carol?
This is Carol. Good evening, board. I submitted my board report and I'm happy to, I don't have much to add to it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right, help.
Jeanette?
Okay, so good evening, board, and included in the board packet is the distance learning plan for going to remote. As you are aware, this summer we've been planning for this phase. This summer, the schools have done a lot of work with their leadership teams in getting ready for the school year after the spring. And we started off really strong. We are fortunate to have had the number of days in person that we've had. We've had some really great instruction happening by the teachers, not only for the in-person learning, but getting ready for blended learning. And so, you know, we knew that this might happen, and I'm really proud of the schools and pleased with how they've responded to going right into blended learning, and they're off and running. I know it's still a challenge, and they're working hard, but it has been, our hope was that it was seamless in this transition, and as best that we could do, it has been seamless. The schools have done town halls with their students, so we've done a lot of preparation work in getting ready. They've held the town halls. They've created videos for parents. They have informational sheets for parents. We had hoped to have a little bit more time to do more practice with students, with knowing that, we were hopeful to start after Thanksgiving. That just wasn't safe in the schools. We just didn't have coverage with teachers. And got my cat. Sorry. So we were going into getting those kids ready for in-person, for the remote learning. I'm sorry, I got distracted. My cat was walking on my keyboard. So he likes to cuddle. So we were preparing for all that, setting expectations with students. We had the advantage of being able to purchase Chromebooks and start the school year strong with students having Chromebooks to use in the classroom. All of these things really helped us to get where we are now. And like I said, I have to commend the schools, the work they're doing, and the principals for the leadership in the schools. And so we put together the district plan with those expectations for elementary and, some sample schedules for and continuing to use Google Classroom. And then the secondary, middle school, and high school, they've done a great job of getting ready for, again, setting expectations for attendance and grades and, the amount of time students should be spending. So it's much better than it was in the spring. And what we really want to do is keep the momentum going of student learning. We feel that's important and really trying to transition. So we're trying to keep as much consistency as possible with the learning that's happening. And of course, the instruction that the students are receiving is what they would have received in person. And we're also trying to work with the BOCES. We've had a meeting today. We'll have another meeting on Thursday to think about how we can provide some ESS services to our most at-risk ESS students who really did not do well in the spring, and we've got some protocols and some procedures in place for those considerations. And so we're working on that, and we should be able to start with some of that after Thanksgiving break. So that's kind of a summary of that report, of my board report and the distance learning plan. And I'm can answer any questions that you may have.
I would just like to say that I put my dad hat on, that it is about as working as well as any plan that anybody could come up with 6 different ways. I mean, it is so effective. I mean, from the beginning of the school, all his homework's been done. He's in 2nd grade. The kids are really soak up everything there. I know it's not going to work for everybody, and there's always going to be issues and struggles. But when it transitioned to online, it's very seamless for him. When it's not chaotic like it was in the spring, of course. So I think he's getting really good instruction, and he missed like the last 5 minutes of his class today and was upset. So, I mean, it's working really well. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for that feedback. That's what our hope was. And we hope that for, as we'd like it for 100% of our kids, we know there's still, issues out there with connectivity. We are working on a grant that might help with some of those families, but again, that will be a little bit lagging because I don't think that we haven't heard back on that, but we do know that all students have a computer, they've had practice, and so that was our hope. So I think we are hearing from schools that this planning process and the work that they did, we were thankful for having our professional development day on November 6th, and we were still in session. Teachers did a lot of work on that day as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. I'd like to highlight everyone's work with the transition. It was very nicely done.
Jamie?
Good evening, board. How are you?
Good.
Well,
Well, I've been trying to decide which it was more fun, the abatement and demolition of the old high school or finishing up the HVAC. And I don't have an answer yet, but no, needless to say, I will be very, very pleased when it is done. With that being said, I did supply you with a brief report, and essentially the middle school is completely done. They met all contract obligations. Systems are running well. The same thing with Kemper. They completed everything at that school. I did put a note in there that we are receiving a rebate from Empire Electric for $48,600. And it looks like Lori and Sherry will accept that big check on the afternoon of the 30th in front of Kemper. And if any other board members want to come, that would be great as well. I'm not sure about the rebates with Lewis and Mesa. I'm sure Mesa will be substantial, probably not quite as much. I'm guessing Lewis half the price. Lewis, it took them 3 attempts to get the last heat exchanger here undamaged, and that happened the other day. They put those on the building, it was yesterday, and so they are working on at Lewis, finishing up the north classrooms, the principal's office, and the gym, and they're hoping to be done with that, and we'll see in the next 7 or 8 days. But they are not. They told me they would work until it's done. Now that that equipment is here. With Mesa Elementary, when we were down a while back, there's a false ceiling up above the current ceiling. I think there used to be asbestos tiles on that were abated. And so we had to test all that sheetrock, and that came back negative, every bit of it. It was just over a week ago. So they were able to order those supplies. One thing that's been an issue with contractor is with the insurance company, with the performance bonds, they had them do 4 separate ones for each school, as I think you recall, and they won't approve one or finish one up and approve the next school until they're about 80% done. And so that's what the holdup was as far as ordering supplies for Mesa. When they will start that, I was told it'd be a couple weeks when that equipment would get in, but I think we're also at the mercy of COVID somewhat. But really, I'm so ready for this to be done, like everybody is. I will say that the heat and the HVAC work and the air conditioning at Kemper work really well. The units, according to the engineer at Empire Electric, are top rated, so we got the full amount per ton. And I kind of touched on what a ton was last board meeting, and they gauge energy efficiency with BTUs. And if you save 10,000 BTUs, is what I was told by Megan, that it equals 1 ton. And so we're up to 54 tons, which would be 540,000 BTUs. That puts us at that top rank. So I think that will help significantly. And with that being said, that's pretty much everything I have. I'm like you, I'm very much ready for this to be done. And it just needs to happen. And I know it will. I think the quality is good. And I keep looking at the positive, which is, this spring, next fall, having that air conditioning. And we're also able to have some heat in a few of those rooms that, the gas pipes were not heating very well this year. So it'll be good in the long run. It's just not right now. Any questions before I go to Louis Areola?
Jamie, I do.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be finished with everything August, I don't know, 17th, maybe. Is the slowdown, what's the slowdown? The performance bond, lack of ordering things? What was the biggest or is the biggest issue?
I think the biggest issue, what has really slowed it down in the last month, Sherry, is are the materials being damaged that were supposed to go to Lewis.
Right.
Those came in. 2 of the 3 looked like they had been run over by a truck. Ron sent a picture of it to me. He ordered 2 more. Took another 2 weeks. 1 was damaged, 1 was not. He ordered that 3rd one, or 1 for the 3rd time, and it finally came in undamaged. What he is going to do, he said, with Mesa is have it shipped directly to his property in Las Vegas and haul it over himself, because the transportation company in Durango is where all this was damaged, he said. So that's a big part of it. Also, with us having to wait for 80% completion on each school before the insurance company will allow another bond, that's also hobbled us.
Okay. That was my question.
Okay. And the last thing, and you will see a capital reserve come to you tonight. It's for additional asbestos testing. And most of that was actually at Mesa, but we also had all our roofs done. And while we were at it, we needed to get some other areas checked too. And everything came back as we expected, which were negative. With the Lewis Playground, they did have a CDOT meeting last Thursday. I wasn't able to attend that one, but I've been following that very closely. They still are not in favor of lowering that speed limit for a variety of reasons. I do know that Mr. Parr collected a petition with over 100 signatures from Lewis parents. I asked Julie, the engineer over in Durango with CDOT, that we needed to meet with the director of CDOT. So she's looking at arranging that and including our county commissioners. So the issue isn't so much having a guardrail, is just how high of the speed that traffic goes by out there. Because what complicates it also is when school starts, when it ends, there's a vast amount of traffic going in and out of that area. And they said the speed study was, correct. Everyone's averaging 65 miles an hour, which at the top of that hill, in my mind, and I know with many others, it's just too much.
Yeah.
And it's really been nice to have the Lewis PTO involved and Mr. Parr and everybody. So it's a battle worth fighting.
Agreed.
I agree. It's worth the fight.
Definitely, definitely.
I think the next step's going to be starting to contact our legislators.
Right.
Force the hand, CDOT.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. And I know Steve Nallen and our sheriff SR over at that meeting. And Steve told me he has good access to those individuals and he's going to start contacting them. So.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, because I mean, they're doing 65 and that's great, but it's like the amount of, the proximity of the school to the highway and the amount of damage that an accident causes when it's an 80,000 pound payload at 65 compared to 45 or even 55. It's not even comparable. So it baffles me that they don't want to reduce it, really.
And that is also a hazardous highway. So if something wrecked that was hauling something hazardous, our kids are very much endangered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with everybody more. So again, we'll keep pursuing this and see where it ends up.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord.
Okay. All right. Moving on to board requests and reports.
Well, I need to remind you that our CASB convention's coming up December 4th and 5th. I received the agenda stuff today. I think everybody probably did. They've got some good workshops, and I highly recommend that we tune into it. Phyllis, are we all signed up?
Yes, I'll be going over the rest of that tomorrow and letting everyone know if I have any questions or if there's any issues, but I think we're all okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, Sherry, I want to report from the fall assembly that we had, the resolutions. As your voting delegate, it lasted over 2 hours, but it was all Zoom and it was pretty interesting with all the parliamentary procedures, and was able to move it along. So we'll be looking more and having more reports out at our winter 80th at our annual convention. I just want to thank the board again for choosing me to be that delegate. It's very informative, and I highly recommend, another individual to come on board with that, with our legislation. But it's just been a privilege to be that voice for our board. Thank you.
Thank you for doing it, Tammy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay. All right, then we'll move on to citizens address the board.
And so for this part, it'll be the chat feature that the citizens will need to type it into the chat and it'll be read to the board. And just a reminder to the citizens, there's one inquiry or one chat per citizen. So, and Carol Mahasey will read them as they come in.
There's no comments so far, board.
Okay, I was just going to ask if it's something that we're not going to be able to see or if we weren't getting any comments.
Nothing so far.
Are we going to get to see the comments?
If any come in, I will read them into the record.
Well, I'm not an auditory learner. I'm a visual learner, so I'd like to be able to see them.
Go to chat, Sherry.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
I am on chat. That's what I'm saying. I want to be able to see them.
Well, that's where they'll be.
There's none right now.
Right.
There aren't any comments.
Here it is.
It was much harder for me to find the meeting this time.
Jamie.
Board,
You should-
I'll be happy to handle that one and address it.
Please do.
Okay.
Sounds like things are slowing down then. Okay. Okay.
Lori, maybe they're where he put his shoes.
It's probably because the superintendent didn't send him an individual board invite this time.
All right. Then we'll just move on to the action items. Number 10 on the agenda, action item A, our consent calendar. I can have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Tammy, seconded by Sherry. Any discussion? And
Does anybody know why we have the amount of people leaving? Is it because of COVID? Is it they're dissatisfied? Does anybody really know? I know we're going to have exit surveys, but it'd be kind of nice to know something.
And just to let the board know that in the December board meeting, we will have the exit surveys, and we'll also have a staff and parent survey that we had administered. And so we'll be having a special section dedicated to feedback, both from staff and parents.
Okay. And if you could just double check and make sure you got all the exit surveys to everyone that I know. There was a couple that had contacted me that they still not gotten the exit survey. So
they get triggered to go out when the resignations or retirements or whatever the case may be go to the board. So depending on when they resigned, they'll receive them, shortly thereafter.
okay, I think this was a while back, so maybe I'll get with
anyone that's been a while back has been addressed. Thank you.
Okay, so we can, Sherry, perhaps in a separate conversation, we get to know those two staff members.
Okay. And then I just have a question. How do we go about, how we have all of the coaches and things like that, where are they, since this is a contract, are they guaranteed like payment, even though I don't know, I mean, we don't even know what we're doing.
Right, and the majority of those contracts will be coming to the board in December, which hopefully we'll know more. We did last year pay half of their contract in a good faith effort, just because of their commitment to the district, and it was not part of their control that have the traditional sports session like we normally.
Is that what we'll do this year as well? I mean, if we're not able.
That would be my assumption at this time.
Okay. Okay. I guess Phyllis, it's a call for the question.
Sherry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
I'm sorry, I'm not under, are we voting on the hiring? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I need to abstain then.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
All right. Action item B, approval of the 2019-2020 district audit.
I make a motion, we accept the district audit.
I second.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Oh, sorry, Stacy.
That's okay.
Okay. Any discussion on that? If not, then have Phyllis call for the question.
Sherry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay. Action item C, approve the CDE assurances for financial accreditation.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I'm showing Chris motioned and Tammy seconded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sherry, this is Melissa. Can I do a little explanation on that?
Please do.
What this is it's a form that basically all the financial pieces that we have, did we adopt a budget? You know, did we meet the timelines of it? Are we meeting the table restrictions? Were you aware of beginning fund balances? Are there any ongoing deficits in any of the funds? Was the proposed budget notified to the public? You know, all those magical things that aren't actually said in the audit, but it's a checklist that we have to say yes, 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 no, no, whatever. And the answer to all the questions with all the timelines that they have were all yes. And one of the things that has to happen at the bottom of it is myself and Lori Hockness, the superintendent, and the board president have to sign that form. And this goes to CDE with our audit. And just so you know, each one of the charter schools have one of these also. So their financial assurances go with our audit, their audit, and all that gets uploaded to CDE. So I just wanted to explain what that was.
Melissa, what happens if they, if one of the charter schools don't make it, theirs or no's?
They will get a letter from CDE.
It's not a ding on us?
It shouldn't be. It depends on, you know, how bad, we can't, you guys don't have the authority if they, you know, overspend a budget or don't submit their budget or spend a deficit. A lot of it's just to make it be aware. So when I get all of these forms, I will send them to you guys just so that you guys have a chance to look at all of them so that you're all aware. But I don't believe that. I mean, we'll get a slap on the hand for them not doing their thing, but a lot of times it's after the fact and we don't know. So
okay, thank you.
Us holding their feet to the fire is how that happens through their charters and through Carol when she works so closely with them, then we would have to put that directly potentially in their next contract.
Have we ever had that happen before where they didn't meet that deadline?
Yes, we have. And so we had to work very diligently with them to have them meet the deadline. Part of it was they had operational issues.
Mm.
So it is something that right now we haven't really had that issue, but we have in the past where we've really had to work with them.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Melissa. Phyllis, if you'll call for the, and does anybody have any questions for Melissa or? Okay, Phyllis, if you'll call for the question.
Jerry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooton,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay, action item D, resolution to reserve a portion of the general fund balance. Motion to
I
approve.
make a motion that we pass the resolution to reserve the portion for general fund.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, seconded by Tammy. Any questions and who do we have reading that?
I'll read it.
Thanks, Jack.
Yep. Whereas communication received in August 2017 from the Montezuma County County Assessor and County Administrator has stated the following. Montezuma County did
Just a minute, Jack. I think that's the wrong one. That's an old one.
Okay, well, that's the one that I got sent. So whoever has a newer one needs to read it then.
Oh, you know what? I was going to bring that up in the meeting, that some of those dates seemed.
And I might have sent, this is Melissa, and I might have sent the wrong one. Let me look here. Do you want me to put it on my screen or do you want me to just read it?
Read it.
Yeah, if you just would read it.
A resolution of the Board of Education, Montezuma-Cortez School District, RE1, releasing a portion of the general fund balance as committed. Whereas communication was received during the summer of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic from the Office of the County Assessor of Montezuma County via phone conference, a court decision has been made that the tax assessment of Kinder Morgan properties for 2010 can be released as the issue has been settled in court. The 2009 additional assessment is still under review. Whereas the amount distributed on February 1, 2016 into the general fund for the 2009 delinquent taxes, the amount of $1,251,294.49, and the amount deducted on October 1, 2017 from the general fund for the 2009 delinquent tax abatement of $142,195.91, net of $1,109,098.58. Whereas the amount distributed on February 1, 2017 into the general fund for the 2010 delinquent taxes is $458,702.49 may be released. Whereas the commitment will continue until a decision is made by the court and the Office of the County Assessor notifies the school district that these funds may be utilized. Whereas the Governmental Accounting Standards Board defines committed fund balance as those amounts that can be used only for specific purposes determined by a formal action of the government's highest level of decision-making authority. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 that Montezuma-Cortez School District RE1 hereby reserves in the general fund balance $1,109,098.58 as committed funds to appropriately set aside the funds as requested by the Office of the County Assessor for Montezuma County. Adopted this 17th day of November, 2020.
And Melissa, can you send everybody or have some, Phyllis send everybody a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I will. And basically what this does, are we discussing it or?
Yes, we're still in discussion.
Okay. Originally, a couple years ago, you had the 2009 and the 2010 held in a committed balance. And so as part of the fund balance, that it could not be spent until you guys agreed to let it go. Since we have been notified that the 2010 amount has been settled and it is there for us to use, this is allowing that to be uncommitted so that we can turn around and transfer it for part of the HVAC units that we, the Jamie's favorite project or second favorite project. I'm not sure which one that was. And so what that's doing is officially notifying everyone that now we're only dealing with the 1 year, the 2009, that's still being litigated.
Okay. Any other discussion? Phyllis, if you could call for the question.
Jerry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay, action item E, the supplemental budget, Fund 223 in the amount of $7,500.
We need to have it read.
Okay, I've got it here. This is an El Pomar Foundation grant in the amount of $7,500 for remote learning and daycare needs. Be it resolved that by the Board of Education of the school district, only one in Montezuma County, that the amount of $7,500 as shown above be appropriated to the 223 fund for the program year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021.
Have a motion to approve it.
I make a motion to approve it.
I second it.
Motion by Stacy, seconded by Sherry. Any discussion?
This was one of the supplementals that the board had previously voted on at the last board meeting. And we were just very fortunate that the El Pomar Foundation did award this grant to us.
Right. Ready. All right, Phyllis, if you'll call for the question.
Sherry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay, action item F, capital reserve resolution in the amount of $3,807.16.
Okay, this is a request made October the 20th, 2020 in the amount of $3,807.16. The funds available are $753, 114.16. Repairs on 1997 reach-in freezer unsuccessful. Unit must be replaced to serve the kitchen at Lewis Elementary. Multiple bids were provided. Business office confirmed funds are available. No permits required. Whereas the administration has need of an additional $3,807.16 to purchase walk-in freezer for a Lewis Elementary kitchen. Now therefore be it resolved that $3,807.16 is authorized for the expenditure from the Capital Reserve Fund.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, Tammy motion and Chris seconded. Any discussion?
This was also another capital reserve that the board had approved in the last board meeting. And so what we did is we actually took the allocation out of the maintenance budget. And then once the board has officially approved it again, then we will transfer the funds because they need to have it fixed.
Has it been installed, Lori? I'm sorry.
Yes, it has.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Phyllis, if you'll call for the question.
Sherry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay. Action item G, capital reserve resolution in the amount of $6,155.
Okay, this is a project, asbestos sampling and lab analysis costs associated with HVAC installation identified by a needs assessment related to health and safety. The rationale for the request is asbestos sampling and lab analysis required on roofs and ceiling impacted with the HVAC installation at Kemper, Lewis, Mesa, and MCMS. Business office confirmed funds are available. Project coordinated with maintenance and IT departments. Whereas the administration has need for an additional $6,155 for asbestos testing related to HVAC installation at Kemper, Lewis, Mesa, and MCMS. Now therefore be it resolved that $6,155 is authorized for expenditure from the Capital Reserve Fund.
Have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept this.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Sherry, seconded by Jack. Any discussion?
This is what Jamie referred to earlier.
Correct. This also came before the board at the last board meeting, and Jamie, I believe that this work hasn't started yet. Am I correct?
He's muted. Oh.
Yes, it's started. We've already done all the sampling. That's additional testing we did, Lori.
And so that was also taken out the maintenance budget, and then will be transferred once the board approves it. I don't think you heard me. The answer, Jamie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Phyllis, if you'll call for the question.
Jerry Wright,
Aye.
Jerry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay, action item H, annual review, approval of the IPP policy KJG. Have a
I make a
motion?
motion. Somebody else say that? I make a motion that we accept the IPP policy KJG.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, seconded by Lance. Any discussion?
Melissa?
I will add, one of the pieces that we have in order to receive impact aid funds, this policy has to be reviewed and accepted every year. It's one of the things that was kind of a stumbling block for us last year. So it can't just be reviewed. It has to be reviewed and accepted. So that's why it's a specific policy. We didn't make any changes, but you have your IPP meeting, and if for some reason the tribe wanted something different, potentially wanted communication, scent, I don't know, smoke signals, I don't really, something different than what we've had in the past, then we'd have the opportunity to rewrite that policy. And so that's why it has to be reviewed and accepted by the board.
Thank you, Melissa.
Any other questions? All right, Phyllis, if you'll call for the question.
Jerry Wright,
Aye.
Sherry Noyes,
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer,
Aye.
Tammy Hooten,
Aye.
Lance McDaniel,
Aye.
Chris Flaherty,
Aye.
and Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay, action item I, policies for first reading. You had a list that was attached, and some of these are being brought back from the last board meeting.
All of these, we have discussed those before in the past, but these are all for a first reading, even though some of the first three have gone around and around with discussion, but this is the first time for a first reading on them.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the policies for first reading as we have received in our attached list.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tammy, moved by Jack. Any question?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
On IKF, it's the, I saw where we needed, it was history. And I just feel like we need to put civics in there somewhere after. I just feel like our kids are leaving school not understanding. So just, it's a comment. It's not saying that we have to do it, but it's something that I think that we need. Doesn't Chris, teach that in high school.
So we can actually bring that specific policy back for a discussion.
Well, I'm not asking to make a change. I'm just saying that we're following CDE's guidelines, but we don't have
Right.
to take it verbatim. Why, we can add to it, we just can't take away. So
Yeah,
that was just
that is
me.
correct. Okay.
Civics is, if I can jump in, civics is required, I believe, by the state, and the civics that's required is included in the government class that all students must take. So
Okay.
that does happen in that high school government class.
Okay. Well, I knew that, didn't Chris Kelly teach it? Just a
Yes.
separate class, and so, and I know
Yeah,
that he's an awesome teacher and really encouraged kids to do stuff, so I just,
Yep, it's part of the government class that students will take in their junior or senior year. They like them to take it in the senior year, but sometimes it happens in the junior year.
Okay, thank you. I have one more on this policy, and it's back to these boxes that I went through so long ago. We have a gifted and talented. We have a regular diploma, gifted and talented diploma, regular diploma, and a career and tech diploma. When do the kids have to say that they're going to do the career and tech or the honors? Is it freshman year?
You mean for the honors program specifically?
Well, no, for all of them.
Yeah. The career tech and the other pathways is interchangeable. And with the honors program, I do believe they really recruit at freshman year, but they do allow other students in after that. Isn't that correct, Jeanette?
Yeah, so, ideally, students would start choosing their pathways freshman year, especially for the honors because of some of the rigor that's involved there. And then with the CTE, again, ideally freshman year, but they probably wouldn't start taking classes until sophomore year because those classes do require a certain pathway. So they're not required at any certain point. We've allowed some flexibility. The longer that they wait, sometimes the harder it is to change that pathway. So that's where they're really working of refining. And this year, they've had some good success with some of the advisory and the ICAP, and continuing to have conversations with students on what kind of career pathway they want to choose. But really trying not to lock them into a certain pathway, but really guide them in the correct pathway so that they don't kind of have some stumbling blocks along the way.
You answered my question. Thank you. That was awesome because I wanted to know if they were locked into it because I saw where parents had to sign different sheets.
Well, they have to sign and the reason for the signature is just so that the communication is there to the parents. Sometimes kids don't always go home and share the information with parents, and parents want, imagine that. So we want to make sure that parents are fully aware of the pathway the students are taking and are a partner in that pathway choice.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along.
Okay, and I had a couple of, on the IKF for early graduation, in that paragraph, it states that if the students want to do an early graduation, it says, therefore, the superintendent or designee may grant permission to students wishing to graduate early, provided the student has met all district graduation requirements in accordance with this policy and its accompanying exhibits. So that word may tends to get us into some trouble because if they have met all the proper I would like to see it changed to, therefore, the superintendent or designee may, I would like to see it changed to will, because with that may, that leaves it kind of gray, back to that gray where you don't have black and white and a lot of our stuff where, because if the student has completed all of the requirements, there shouldn't be any reason why they can't.
So what you're saying is take the subjectiveness out of it?
Yes, yeah, take may out and put in will, or change the wording to some point, because I can see that eventually some day down the road, some student doesn't get, even though they finished everything, and for some reason there's a, you know, just for some reason, well, we're not going to let that student graduate early, but they've done all the requirements. Because it says they may grant it, doesn't mean they have to.
Well, and the may is in there for a reason, and it's specifically why what you're saying, Sherry, is to have a little bit of gray area in there for, you know, if there is any other issues with it. You know, obviously, if the student has met all the criteria, then the superintendent will approve it. But, you know, with the may, if the superintendent, if there was some reason that the superintendent said no, just remember that that student and their parents do have the right to petition the board as the next quality check. And that is, you know, part of the process. So, I mean, that's
Lori,
well,
what type of hypotheticals, what type of scenarios would you see where they would have it all done, but it wouldn't be
frankly,
granted?
if the students have met the criteria, we have always honored it for them to graduate early.
But could you give an example of where a superintendent might deny it, or what could be a possible reason?
Quite frankly, if they meet all the criteria, I really don't see a reason why it would be denied.
So I agree with Sherry by changing that word may to will, because in the ending of the sentence, it says provided. So will grant permission to the students wishing to graduate early, provided the student has met all. So the word will does not take away the intent of the superintendent or the designee to grant permission.
Yeah, I'm just going to weigh in here as something for you guys to consider. I think that kind of latitude was in there probably years ago and thinking about kids who might graduate, I don't know, junior year or sooner, and you know, just being concerned with graduating that early. That would be the only case where I would see it in, and so I'll just throw it in there. I think in this day and age, that's not as frowned upon as maybe in the past.
So it was a stereotype versus academic?
I just think people worrying about I think just people worrying about students, of trying to keep kids in high school for that learning and not have them go out. You know, I think it's just kind of that old frame of mind that, you know, we should keep kids in high school for 4 years, even if they're ready to graduate. So I think that's where that was kind of alluded to. Not that necessarily should be anymore, but that was a case that I thought of why that might be there.
Well, I think it's time to get rid of it. I've known students who were absolutely bored out of their skull the last year in high school.
Yeah.
No, had everything.
Okay, so we will change it to will when it's brought back to the board.
Okay, thank you.
And then just for clarification on IKF-E-3, when it talks about the three diplomas, but this one more specifically towards the honors diploma, because we ran into this 2 years ago. School activities, it says and or, so just clarify this for me. If a student transfers in their sophomore year, it says 4 years of school activities, athletics, participation. So does that mean in our school for the honors diploma, or does that mean that these students need to actually do then 80 hours of volunteer work and then the 80 hours of work experience outside the home, and it basically omits them of the school activity option.
What I'm seeing here, and I don't know if this addresses your question, Sherry, they have a choice of 2 of the 3. So they don't have to meet all 3 of those bullet points.
Right. So what I'm saying is if you're a student that transfers into our school sophomore year or junior year and want to do the honors diploma, that 4 years of school activities or athletic participation is obsolete for them. And they have to just go the 80 hours of volunteer work and the 80 hours of work experience.
So what you're saying, Sherry, is that if they played basketball in another school and then moved in, does the basketball in the other school count as a activity?
Right. Is that how you're wording it, or does it need to be in our school district?
Yeah.
No, it would, obviously, they came from another school, that would count.
Okay. And I'm following Sherry's train of thought here, I think. But we did have an issue a couple of years ago about Victorian and valedictorian and salutatorian. Is that part of it cleared up? Because
Could you refresh my memory on that, Sherry?
That was where if I remember correctly, a student transferred in and was one of them, and then another one had studied abroad and was another one. So we were going, do they have to spend 4 years in Cortez school, or is it strictly GPA?
Well, and that's what it stated, was in the book, it stated they must attend MCHS all 4 years, and neither one of them had attended MCHS all 4 years.
So we kind of,
so
but it did, yeah. And so I just want to make sure that we have that cleared up so we don't run into it again.
Right.
But is that a different policy?
No, and I will bring this back to the board. My memory is that we did clear it up. And
yes,
then,
because they were both there.
Yeah, came to the conclusion that they did not have to be 4 years at our high school, but I will double check that.
Yeah, let's just make sure that it's clear
And
so
bring
that
it
we
back
don't
to
run
the
into
board.
that one again. Yeah.
Okay, I will double check that and
Sherry, are you through?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, DJB. Background checks. What it said for some felonies, what felonies would not count?
I do know that, Carol, you can help me with this, is the state has opened up some latitude with that, and that if they have a felony in a area that they are not working in, then they could potentially be qualified for that position. Whereas it used to be that if you had a felony, you were automatically eliminated from applying for the position.
Okay. My next question is for Melissa. What is the difference between a micro and a simplified in monies budget? And I don't have it in front of me.
Is that in a specific policy?
Yes. I can look it up, but
I guess
but it was a 10,500 and a 3,500.
Yeah, it was the one with the writing on it that was
Yeah.
handwritten on the policy.
I just didn't know the difference. So
I think
I was
it's
just
the federal procurements.
Yes.
Or bidding procedures, one of those two.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of those is what the federal law. And honestly, I'm not familiar exactly with what you're referring to. So
Okay.
I'm not any help. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I can do research. And then I have another one. Does anybody have anything else? I studied today. GBEB was number 3. And this is a complaint that I've heard from parents. And it says diligence in submitting reports promptly. And I have heard from so many parents, especially this year, that Power School is not updated, that teachers are not updating. Is that considered reports?
My assumption would be yes, because that is a report out to the parents.
So if you don't mind reminding teachers that we do have a policy saying that they need to do that. And it's something I've heard for several years, but this year it's been even more. So
I've heard the same.
You've heard the same thing?
Yeah.
That's some good feedback. Thank you.
Okay, and then JEB, and I don't remember, I don't know what it said, but I just wrote down that the enrollment was good. So.
Well, I had one question.
On a positive note. Go ahead.
On JEB, where you have written in there that the date was changed to August 18th.
Oh, right.
What date was changed? The date that they need to let us know on that?
The date that they could go to school, I think, because we worked on it, Sherry, after that, one kindergartner was wanting to come in and everything. So wasn't that what it was, Lori?
Yes. It was kindergarten entrance age.
Mm-hmm.
The petition to be considered to enter early prior to the meeting the states.
With the right documentation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that August date that was handwritten in on there, that is the date that the entrance date, or is that the date? Because you know they have to notify this school.
Jerry, that August date is in there because we redid that policy and it was finalized at a board meeting on August 18th.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what that means. We battled with that on whether to allow them or not to allow them. And then I think Jeanette was instrumental in writing that sentence in there that's in blue. And it says, as determined by the district kindergarten readiness assessment and available preschool data. A parent request for kindergarten testing needs to be submitted prior to July 15th. So those words in blue were added to the policy as a second reading and an adoption at the August 18th board meeting.
Okay, so that was the board meeting date. Okay, thank you. Okay, do we want to call for the question on all of these, or individually? Can we just do it in all of the policies together?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Phyllis, if you want to call for the question.
Jerry Wright.
Aye.
Sherry Noyes.
Aye.
Jack Schoenenmeyer.
Aye.
Tammy Hooten.
Aye.
Lance McDaniel.
Aye.
Chris Flaherty.
Aye.
And Stacy Hall.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Number 11 on the agenda, discussion items. We have policy EBCE, which is school closings and cancellations. And I wanted to bring that back because there was a couple of things on there that I think we just need some clarification on, and then just kind of when I talked with Lori, we were talking about her also developing that administration plan, or a plan to implement the policy. But in the very first paragraph, it says, it is understood that the superintendent will take such action only after consultation with appropriate authorities. It doesn't really designate who that is. And so that can be construed, it can probably be read on either end on who appropriate authorities are. So I thought we probably should discuss a little bit of that. The superintendent is empowered to close the schools or to dismiss them early in event of hazardous weather or other emergencies which threaten the safety, health, or welfare of students or staff members. It is understood that the superintendent will take such action only after consulting appropriate authorities.
So if it's school closure, I mean, if it was road hazards, like snow days, you
like
would
CDOT.
consult the state patrol, correct?
Well, and Rob Englehart, we always talk very, very early in the mornings because, you know, the plows and being able to turn around too is a very large consideration as far as closing, you know, calling a snow day.
So do we want to put down so much detail, or I would say the health department for right now, and of course we always need to remember that the board fits in there too.
Right, and
yeah.
the board's always contacted too. To me, that's you know, one of the top priorities is consultation
Right.
with the board members, except
So,
for
You know,
days at 4 in the morning.
You know, I mean, it's impossible to predict what kind of situation may occur, and particularly where decisions have to be made in a relatively short period of time for reasons of safety or other reasons. So I think that needs to be kept fairly open, and we trust the superintendent to act responsibly.
Well,
I agree with Jack there.
Okay. Well, and I think that because Lori has kept us, you know, informed with a lot of the things, but you know, 5 years down the road, if we have a superintendent that says, you know, you're not the appropriate authorities, and I did this, and none of us know anything about it, and we're blindsided with, I don't see a problem with throwing in there after consultation with board and appropriate authorities, or appropriate authorities and board, like just notification, like a consultation.
I agree with Sherry, just to the fact of this is a living, breathing document. We wanted to be able to move it forward. We have a superintendent that keeps us all informed individually as well as the whole. But what if down the road we don't have a conscientious superintendent? So I think this is kind of a CYA.
Why don't I, because when Sherry Noyes brought this up, I did, you know, reread. It does say below that the superintendent would actually create a regulation to go with this. So why don't I create a regulation and bring it back to the board?
That would be good.
And the regulations can be changed at any time. It doesn't need to go through the whole formal board process. And so we can have a regulation that goes with this policy if the board's agreeable to that.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that'll work. Thank you, Lori.
Lori, I'd like to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't call me at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell me you're closing school. or snow.
First one to call you.
I'll second Lance's.
I can call you and say, what do the roads look like out where you live? Can you drive?
You know, Lori, I have actually been called at 4 o'clock in the morning and asked how the roads look. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on that? Anybody? Okay. The school board budget work session, discussion about moving it to December. We did have it in November, but not everything was going to be presented. I mean, we could have both of them according to Lori, but I think if we just can move it to December and have everything presented at one time would be ideal.
That would give more time to do some specific numbers, more in relation to the October count, what the projection with the governor's budget is, and we could really have a deeper work session if the board's agreeable to that.
So do you want it before the December board meeting?
We could either do it before, or we could have a work session prior to the meeting.
I don't think we'll have enough time prior because I have lots of questions.
I think it needs to be separate, just
Okay.
because of the severity of where our budget's heading toward.
Okay, I did remind Lori that on that, what is it, that Thursday and Friday, the 5th and the 6th is the CASB
right
stuff going on. So those 2 days would be out.
What about the following week, the 9th through the 3rd, excuse me, I'm on the wrong week, the 7th through the 11th?
Oh, yeah, I'm on the wrong month too. Sorry. It's the.
I was with
but
you.
but you were right in that anyway.
The 3rd
But
and the
does it
4th.
need to be in the evening because everybody works?
Yeah.
So,
Anytime after 5 works for me.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, anytime after 5. We're not working long hours now with the decrease in daylight, so anytime after 5 is fine.
December 9th, we have a BOCES board meeting. Share voice. That's that Wednesday.
I have to go get my mother at some point because I'm not letting her come home Thanksgiving. So I have to go get her before Christmas. I prefer the 7th because that gives me time to, but it's whatever.
7th works for me too.
There's a DAC meeting scheduled on the 7th.
Oh.
Okay.
What about the 8th?
The 8th. I can do, yeah, that works okay for me.
That works for me too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good with the 8th.
So at 5 or a little bit after for those at work?
What about 5:30?
Yep, 5:30 will work. And as of right now, this is all Zoom, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this one will be hard to do as a Zoom, but yeah. Hey, I've got her down.
Okay, so we've moved that budget work session to December the 8th at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay, agenda number 12, items to add to the next agenda. We have the superintendent and the board evaluations. Phyllis will get those to us in December for us to get completed and filled out for our meeting in January. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, well, if you do, you can contact Phyllis and Lori and.
Just to reiterate what Sherry Wright said earlier about our annual convention, it is virtual. We have the email with the speakers and the general sessions, and we should be receiving a link to register for those Zoom meetings a week prior, so week of November 30th, and Phyllis is going to double check all of that for us, so just keep that in mind, December 3rd and 4th.
Right.
Alrighty.
I just have to say I'm going to miss being with the board in person for the CASB conference.
Me too.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we could all meet together and have a potluck or something, but no chance now.
Nope.
We could all go to McDonald's before the next Zoom meeting and.
We could all
It's
make
not like the bee, though. It's definitely not like the bee.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
the bee.
that's true.
Not the bee.
If nobody has anything else, I will adjourn this meeting at 9:20.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
have a good week.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Social distancing.
That's right.